These South Korea's legendary female freedivers evolve for a life underwater. Scientists find new evidence. A group of Haenyeo women divers walk on the beach after diving on Jeju Island, South Korea, November 19, 2023. CNN. An island 50 miles, 80 kilometers off the southern tip of the Korean peninsula, is home to a unique and celebrated community of women, the Haenyeo. These women dive year-round off Jeju Island, collecting sea urchin, albaron, and other seafood from the ocean floor, descending as much as 60 feet, 80 meters beneath the surface multiple times over the course of 4 to 5 hours each day. They dive throughout pregnancy and well into old age without the help of any breathing equipment, just a wetsuit. For thousands of years, we think they've been doing this incredible matrilineal thing where they learn from the mother how to dive at a very young age. They go out in these collectives, and that's what they do. They dive, said Melissa Ann Ilado, a genetist and assistant professor in biomedical informatics at the University of Utah. They are spending really an extraordinary percentage of their time underwater. Ilado, along with a colleague in South Korea, Denmark, and the United States, wanted to understand how the women manage this incredible physical feat. Specifically, the researchers wondered whether the divers have a unique DNA that allows them to go without oxygen for so long, or if that ability is the result of the lifetime of training, or the combinations of the two. The findings of their investigation, published in the scientific journal Cell Report on May 2nd, uncovered the unique genetic differences the Haenyeo have involved to cope the physiological stress of freediving. Each a discovery that could one day lead to better treatment for blood pressure disorders, researchers say. It is beautiful Iceland, like sometimes they call it the Hawaii of Korea. There's this coastline everywhere that's rich with great resources, so you can imagine any population living in the place like that of course, uh, you would want to take advantage of, Ilado said. The divers spend a large percentage of their day underwater, repeatedly diving to the seabed to collect sea urchins, arbaron, and other seafood. Diving has been part of Jeju culture for many years. It's unclear at what point it became a woman-only activity, but theories include the tax of male divers or the shortage of men, Ilado said. Still, diving is so integral to Jeju's population that the shortening of words characteristic of the Jeju language is attributed to the need for divers to communicate quickly, according to the new study. However, the practice is dying out. Young women are no longer continuing this matrilineal tradition. The current group of Haenyeo divers, with the average age of around 70 years, may represent the last generation, the researchers noted in the study. Diving into DNA. For their research, Ilado and her colleagues recruited 30 Haenyeo divers, 30 non-diving women from Jeju, and 31 women from the South Korean mainland. The average age of the participant was 65. The researchers compared the participant heart rate, blood pressure and spleen size and sequences their genomes, a detailed genetic blueprint from blood samples. The study's biggest challenge was safely replicating the physical stress of being underwater for a relatively long period for participants with no diving experience. Ilado noted the researchers solved this problem by conducting simulated dives during each participant held their breath while submerging their faces in cold water. We would have loved to collect these measurements from everyone on the open ocean, but obviously you cannot ask the 65-year-old, 67-year-old woman who have never dived before in their lives to hop in the water and hold their breath and dive, Ilado said. Fortunately, if you hold your breath and put your face in the bowl full of cold water, your body responds as if you are diving, and that's because the nerve that stimulates the mammalian dive reflex goes through your face, she said. When you feel the cold water combined with the breath hold, your body says, "Oh, I'm diving." So your heart rate slows down, your blood pressure increased, and your spleen contracts, she added. The team's analysis reveals that the participants from Jeju, both divers and non-divers, were more than 4 times more likely than mainland Koreans to have genetic variant associated with lower blood pressure. Your blood pressure increases as you dive. Their Jeju residents' blood pressure increases less, Ilado explained. The researchers believe the trait may possibly have evolved to keep unborn children safe because the Hanya dive throughout the pregnancy when high blood pressure can be dangerous. The team also found that the Jeju participants were more likely to have genetic variation previous research has linked to cold and pain tolerance. However, the researchers did not measure the participants' ability to withstand low temperatures, so they cannot say for sure whether the variant may be important for the Hanya's ability to dive year around. Throughout winter, they are diving when it's snowing, and up until 1980s, they were doing that in cotton with no protection at all. That there's a lot more that we need to explore and find the answers to, Ilado said. The Hanya's diving prowess didn't come down to genetics alone. The study also found that the female divers had a slower heart rate than non-divers during the test, the factor that would help them to conserve oxygen during the dive. It was quite dramatic. Actually, their heart rate dropped to about 50% more over the course of the dive than the control participant. We know that it's because of training, because it's something that we only saw in the Hanya, Ilado said. Ilado's previous work involving free diving communities known as the Bazau in Sulawesi, Indonesia had revealed genetic adaptations that allows the Bazau to go for longer period without oxygen, resulting in unusually large spleens. However, while Jeju residents did, on average, have a larger spleen than the study participant from mainland South Korea, the effect wasn't significant when other factors like age, height, and weight were accounted for, she said. The average age of Jeju's Hanya is around 70, and few young women want to train to become divers. A target for new drugs. the genetic variants that the study identified in the Jeju residents associated with a lower blood pressure should be explored further, according to Ben Trumbull, an associate professor at Arizona State University's School of Human Evolution and Social Change. Those with this gene had more than a 10% reduction in blood pressure compared to those who don't have this gene. That's a pretty impressive effect, said Trumbull, who wasn't involved in the study. Genes code for proteins, and if we can figure out which changes in proteins impact blood pressure, we could potentially create new drugs. Nearly all medical and genetic studies are conducted in industrialized populations, usually in urban city centers, making Ilado's approach particularly valuable. Um, Trumbull added. Almost everything we know about what is normal when it comes to health is from these sedentary urban populations. However, for 99.9% of humans' history, we were hunter gatherers, he said. Nature selection optimized our bodies under very different selective pressures than those we face today. Ilado said she hopes to continue to study Jeju's female divers and get a deeper understanding of the medical implications. This study raised more questions than it answers, but first and foremost, it shows these women are extraordinary, she said. That's something biologically different about them that makes them extremely special, no matter how we characterize it. And what they do is unique and worth celebrating.